and welcome to another Talking into Profits show where we are bringing our industry experts to dive deep into topics that matter to you and your business. So, this is your opportunity to gain valuable insights, learn from real world experience, and get your pressing questions answered by both me and my amazing guest expert, the Lisa May Hubby, today. Yeah. If you are here, let us know where you're at and where you're joining us from in the comments, please. And just so, hey, we know we're alive and you can hear us and all that kind of stuff. But we also love it that you are part of the show, part of the conversation as well. So please do share your thoughts, your opinions, your questions in the comments. And realize there might be a slight delay before we see them, but we will get to them because your input is as crucial to our discussion as we are. So, Lisa, I'm so happy to have you back. So everyone, Lisa May, she was here a month ago, actually. I think almost a month ago to the date. I'm not positive on that one, but
was it a month ago? I thought it was like 2 months ago, but maybe it was only a
was
month.
it January or was it February? I'm losing time at this point. I thought it was
I
February.
know.
I really losing. I'm losing track. I've been working. I know you've been working hard as well too. So, but for everyone that hasn't met Lisa May yet, she is a six-figure copywriter and business mentor with over 18 years of experience working with high-level online coaches. She's also got an amazing background, everything from corporate marketing to managing it's not six. So used to saying six, 7 and 8 figure budgets for Fortune 500 and Fortune 100 companies. And her clients have achieved results like $623,000 launches and 7 figure evergreen funnels. So you guys can imagine why I've invited Lisa May here to talk to you guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thrilled to have you here with the conversation and to share your experiences with us because when we hopped off the last call, we immediately were like, okay, you were immediately like, we need to come back and talk about standards.
Yes, because the conversation we kind of started to go in that direction. I'm like, oh, this is a whole other episode.
Right? And it totally is. I experienced holding standards just today at a networking event I had right before I got on here. I got in a room with someone and it was just like, yeah, no, that ain't going to happen. I don't want to get too deep into that one, but yeah, it was holding up those boundaries though. So yesterday I had my own networking event I hosted and we were actually talking about, we have an open discussion. So I included it about standards just because I wanted to get a few ideas and stuff today for the show today. And I had an interesting one, a guy who does not believe we should set standards or boundaries as far as before we get on a conversation with someone. I'm kind of curious to know your thoughts on that.
That's interesting because I don't think I've ever heard someone say that before.
I hadn't either.
I mean, yeah, I mean, setting the standard for it just goes to who you're available to talk to, first of all. So it's like, okay, yes, I will speak to I'm not above anyone. I will speak to anyone and start conversations in DMs, but I very quickly am able to figure out if this is someone that I want to continue a conversation with or not. If it looks like I can serve them and it might actually go somewhere, then those are the people that I focus on, rather than just ending up in endless small talk, right? We get stuck in those loops. So, having a standard and your own criteria and having that set in stone for you, to me, that's the starting point.
Yeah, me too. It was me too. So it was an interesting discussion when all of us were kind of questioning him on that, but his philosophy behind it was that you set those once you had a conversation with the person. But I'm like, yeah, but how do you know who to get on the call with to begin with, and things like that. But so there was a whole thing there. So it was just an interesting one to bring to you to begin with. For all of you in our audience, what's one area of your business where you feel you might have been settling for less than you deserve? Let us know that in the comments. And then Lisa, May, I'd like to talk about, let's first of all, let's set up what standards actually are. Because I don't think some people
No, and it's, I mean, these are your own guidelines, right? This is your own playbook for how you want to do business and life. What are you no longer willing to tolerate in all areas of your life? What do you need to elevate? So if we bring it back to, let's say, I mean, money's the most tangible thing, right? So let's bring it back to money. What's your bank account look like? You know, where are you tolerating a less than in your bank account, right? What's your lowest threshold? If your standard is currently, I don't know, $100 or no, right? If you're used to looking at zeros in your bank account, you don't have a standard set for yourself. Right. So the first thing you need to do as a business owner, to me, this is the first thing I would do, is really elevate the standard and say, okay, 5K is my new norm. That's my new normal. And it will never go below that. Or maybe it's even more than that. But, you know, we need somewhere to start if you haven't done that already. Because what happens is we've already normalized the other thing. So elevating your standard for what you're willing to accept in your bank account and in your finances, that's going to force you to really start to rise to the occasion to do the things you need to do as a business owner and, you know, step in so that you make sure that 5K is your new norm. Mm-hmm. Right? And you hold to that standard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, it's funny that you said that because I'm sitting here and I'm going to have to admit, I've never actually set a standard for my bank account. It's one area I've never even thought about till just now. And so you just hit me with a big one there. I mean, it's not that I don't have money goals and things I like coming in and that kind of stuff, but I never thought about actually setting a standard on my bank account. I mean, I had them set in all other areas of my life, but I did not do that. So we get hit with a new one all the time on that. But, you know, and I agree with you. I mean, for me on a standard, I feel like you use the word tolerate, and I think that's really good. And I feel like that's the bare minimum that you are willing to tolerate in any area of your life is a standard for
me.
And
I think tolerate is kind of, it's one of those words, you know, it's a fine line because I think we tolerate far more than we should be as a society and as people and as women specifically. I'm not going to, you know, man bash or anything like that here, but I think we tolerate a lot more in so many different areas of our life and business than we need to be, right? I mean, standards are, you know, your list of thoughts, activities, and behaviors that are helpful to you. Mm-hmm. And so if we're tolerating something, then we're just kind of putting up with it.
Yeah.
Right? We're just kind of dealing with it and pushing through or whatever. And if we really take a step back, is that being helpful to us?
No, absolutely.
Right? What are the things that are being more helpful to us, and what can we release? What can we let go of? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see somebody commented standards are often based on your values. Yes, they are. They absolutely can be.
Yeah, for sure. And then David here is answering what is the one area of your business where you're settling for less? He said demanding people change how you deliver your program. Yeah, I mean, I've experienced that one. So I have learned I will no longer change my programs for a client.
Absolutely. And just before we came on here, you and I were talking about kind of my new business model around the leveraged offer. And this is a whole new standard for myself in how I want to do business, right? Because I realized there were quite a few areas of my life where I was actually building according to someone else's model that didn't
Mhm.
service me. So I actually, I wasn't doing the things I needed to do because I didn't want to be booked solid with sales calls every day. I didn't want to be delivering just one-on-one work, because how many times have we gotten on a call with our own mentors or coaches or others who are, oh, I've got back-to-back client calls, and they're eating during your session or whatever, right? They're
Yeah,
trying to squeeze life in around a business that's just filled their, you know, every block of their calendar is full. I want white space. That's
that
the
sounds
real
like
flex to me.
that sounds like pure hell for me. I still want my time where I can go out and have my 2 hour lunch or whatever if I want. I mean, don't get me wrong. I
Mhm.
sometimes have busy days, but I've still scheduled, and I like to call it white space in. I keep some
That's
white
the
space.
flex.
Yeah, I keep
Yes.
white space in my calendar. So, I mean, and I think that's really important. I mean, it has to be, because if we don't, then, I mean, like you said, you're eating on a call instead of, just being able to enjoy it. And in that case, are they really that focused on you because they're trying to cram in that too? And there's that as well. I mean, we're not faulting them for doing what they got to do, but I mean, when you think about it, are you giving your client everything you can give them if you're trying to multitask during your client sessions?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, it's all I mean, I just use that as an example of one of the standards that I've elevated for myself
Yeah.
recently. And I just decided to like, no, this is not happening at this stage of my life, because Heidi mentioned all the stuff at the beginning, that all my years of experience and stuff, and it's hard to believe since I'm only 29.
You're a beautiful 29.
I told my landlord a couple of weeks ago, it's like I'm turning 29 for the fourth time. They thought
I'm
it was
gonna be
hilarious.
I'm gonna be honest. I actually stayed 29 for 4 years in a row. I was very resistant to turn into 30. It was funny because 50 was easy. Yeah, I feel
So,
you
but
on
at
that.
this, that we're all, as we go through our life, I mean, our standards are all going to evolve,
Yes.
obviously. But another thing, we really, to bring the conversation back in around what we're available for and what we're not. How many of us are people pleasing, or just allowing people to kind of maybe
Yeah.
run more roughshod over us than they should be? I shared an example just this morning, actually, of, back in 2016, I had a client who came on with me in January. It was supposed to be a 6-week project, copywriting and launch.
Mm.
In August, we were still going.
Oh no, you're kidding me.
Just despite it, and it wasn't scope creep. It was like herding cats with this particular client, and I just couldn't. So I finally, it's like, okay, we're done. We're done, because she had paid for the
Yeah.
service, but and I was delivering and delivering and delivering, and then it was finally, okay, no, we have to be done now. We have to wrap this up.
Yeah.
So, what clients do we need to?
Hello? Can anybody hear me? Is it Lisa May that is froze, or is it me? Let me know. These lovely tech issues. Oh, there. Oh, there you are.
Are we back? Okay,
You're
okay.
back.
Where'd you lose me?
We lost you. We're in the middle of the client story. You just let her go.
Okay. Okay. So, just who are we hanging on to in our lives, right? So standards don't just apply for you know, one little part of our life, but
Everything.
everywhere. Maybe there's people, maybe there are personal people, maybe even family members or friends that we've been hanging on to that just aren't, it's like, are they part of how we want to be living our life now, and what we're actually going with,
Yeah.
what we're
Well,
working
and
toward.
I mean, we were talking just as we came on too, because I mean, you actually were, I mean, we were going to do this show anyway, but we hadn't planned on doing it this week. You were a filling guest for me because I relaxed my new standard. I had just set it from last year. I did this show all of last year. And I would get on the calls with people and love the guest, and we would set the date. And then I would literally, sometimes it was 3 days before the event, still didn't have their information. So I spent a lot of time chasing guests for information. And you think you'd want to give it to me. I mean, we're here to celebrate you and put you out there and everything else. But no, I mean, I literally was spending hours chasing guests to get their information. And so in December last year, I set the thing. I said, next year, I'm not going to set dates with clients until I have their information back. And I relaxed that on 2 guests this year. It's end of March. I relaxed it on 2. I will not do that again this year. But I did, because new habits, guys. And not only that, these guys were pros. I mean, they were experienced podcast hosters. And I didn't think, of course, and we aren't talking 2 or 3 shows. We're talking hundreds of shows. And so I didn't think I'd have to chase them for their information, but neither one of them would be coming on the show because I'm not chasing their information, because I already did that. And you obviously filled in. So that's one of my standards I set this year, is I'm not chasing guests for information anymore. So just a small one where we make our lives better, right?
Yep. Yep. And it goes to, if we bring it back to business and directly related to sales. Mm-hmm. Why expend energy chasing maybes, right? It's the fence sitters and the maybes that are going to kill you, right? So now I've elevated my standard. You're either a hell yes or a no. Have the cojones to step up. No is a complete sentence. You're welcome to just say no.
And it doesn't hurt to say no. And I think that's the problem. I mean, I used in my post today an example of ghosting, because we know how people ghost across the board when it comes, they'll book a call, a sales call, and then all of a sudden they're gone. You don't hear a drop from them. Mm-hmm. And of course, in my example is I've had people, I used to, up until 2 years ago, I would have people finally come back months later, pretend nothing had happened, book another call. And then maybe some of them even came on as clients. But I'll be honest, every single one of those that ended up coming on as clients, it ended up being a client from hell. I mean, it was not fun to work with them. It was nitpicking. It was pulling everything apart. They didn't take action. They didn't do the stuff. So I, 2 years ago, set a standard for myself that if someone ghosted me, because it's easy enough to draw. Things happen. You do miss calls.
Yes.
You do.
Yep.
It's easy enough to send a note. I'm sorry I missed it. This happened. Can we reschedule? Or I changed my mind. You can say that, but don't leave people hanging. So I just said, I'm not going to do it no more. So if they ghost me, I don't rebook without a good reason, a note back and a good reason. I don't rebook and all that. But yeah, it's made such a difference in my business. No, I get less tire kickers. I get less ghosting.
Well, and it makes you a happier person too, right? Happier in business. You're more excited to show up because now you have these elevated standards. You know exactly who the type of person you want to work with.
Yeah, because it draws me too, because I remember last year when you set the standard that if people didn't reply to your DMs that had contacted you first, you weren't going to work with them. I remember that. It was something along that line of those posts. I was like, yay, Lisa May!
I don't actually remember that particular post, but yeah, there's a certain element of, there's a certain way to do DMs the right way and not so much, right? They're a valuable tool. I use them every day. I think it's a really smart strategy, especially when social media is, Facebook these days I think the latest statistic was they're showing only about 1%, showing your content to about 1% of your audience. It's really, really low. So if you're not doing that, and this is a whole other conversation, but if you're not in DMs and having conversations with people every day, then relying on the algorithm to hopefully show your content to someone, that's going to take a really long time. That's a really hard way to build a business.
It is. It is. I mean, that is something we both preach. Go ahead and do outreach. And I know a lot of people, because I was just in an event earlier this week, and the minute I said outreach, the ladies all did this. And I'm like, you all thought outreach meant cold DMs, didn't you? And they were like, uh-huh. And we're like, no. It does not mean you're cold pitching in DM. It just means you are going out and getting the conversation started. You aren't waiting for people to come to you.
Yeah. But again, like, that comes back to standards. What they're willing to tolerate in their life. Again, what are you tolerating because you're not taking this action? You're not initiating the conversations, right? You're tolerating fewer zeros in your bank account than you'd like to see, or maybe it's just zeros. You're tolerating fewer clients. You're tolerating not making the impact. You're tolerating making other people wait that are relying on you. They're out there cheering for you to, yeah, let's go. She's finally made it. What spouse, husband, boyfriend, whatever, who else is waiting for you to step up, elevate your standards, and do the things that need to be done?
Right. I mean, that is huge. I mean, speaking of that, let's go see what we got going on in the comments here. We've got Miss Beth Ann Campbell here. I love David's comment about changing how you deliver your program, or even what your program is as an outlier. I've experienced that. You should do a coaching program, not me.
Yeah. All the shoulds, the people that love the armchair critics, right? You should do this. Like, no.
But shoulds are nothing but someone else's expectations for you, or if they're coming from you, your expectations. It doesn't mean they're true. So,
right.
Yeah. And Willie says, if you're willing to tolerate stuff, you're losing all griping rights about it, taken from Zig Ziglar.
Yes. I saw that come in. I really like that, Willie. I like that. Thank you for sharing that.
Beth is here again too. The tip on not chasing guests for info was a game changer for me. Yeah, scheduling goes after. That's her new motto. Yeah, Beth and I had a little bitch fest about that, because she has a show, The Thirsty Professional, which is live tomorrow. Shout out for Beth.
Yay!
So she's going to have the amazing Doris Walsh on tomorrow. If you don't know her, she's a parenting coach, helping parents get over the guilt of being parents while working and trying to have a life at the same time. So it should be a good show.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, that sounds really great.
Yeah, should be. But getting us back to that, let's get another question there for our audience as we're moving on with this stuff. But so for everybody in our audience, what is one personal standard you're committed to raising in your business? And we're going to challenge you to start doing it this week. I know it's Thursday, but hell, what better time to start than right now? So what's one personal standard you guys want to raise? Lisa, do you have something right now that you're wanting to raise a standard
on? Yeah, just being more consistent with my daily routine. Elevating my standards to personally, my daily routine in regards to getting back into my fitness. So a bit of background that is totally not business related, but I've been an athlete for most of my life. And since moving to Costa Rica 3 years ago, that's just kind of gone sideways. So getting back into it and just, it's not that I'm not doing it, I'm just not consistent enough. And really, elevating my standard with regards to really stepping into the identity of, getting back into being Lisa May, the athlete, as well as the CEO. Yeah, and not tolerating the BS of the whole mindset of, the pura vida mindset in Costa Rica. So a lot of times there are different ways to look at that. Pura vida is, of course, it means pure life, but they use it for hello, they use it for goodbye. Mostly, I think it's a way of just saying, you can be lazy and get away with it.
But it is easy to get in some of these cultures and and it's not that laid back is bad at all, but yeah, we've got our own standards. So how is being consistent as Lisa May, the athlete, going to also help the Lisa May, the CEO, be more consistent as well?
Oh, once you kind of dial that discipline back in again, for me, and I know for a number of other entrepreneurs, it has a ripple effect across everything that you do in your life. So just dialing back into the discipline and really stepping into that identity, right? That's a whole other topic again, right? But identity and standards are so closely that like they're linked.
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
just dovetail into each other. But really being able to elevate um, into that identity again will help immensely across the business. We can my bank account. Right. I challenged some people yesterday. We were on, yes, absolutely, David, taking ownership for everything that I'm doing right or wrong and the outcomes that are a result of that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
We were on a mastermind call yesterday with my mentor. And I said to the ladies, because we were talking about a few things, but everything that they were talking about was surface level. Oh, I can serve more clients and I can do this and I can do that. It's like, yeah, but let's go more personal. What does your underwear drawer look like? How many
Mm-hmm.
holy pairs of underwear are you hanging on to? Right? When was the last time
Valid
you
question.
upgraded?
Valid question.
Right? I mean, that is a standard. You're tolerating worn out, baggy ass underwear.
I,
Or, old clothes. I mean, I've got $3 shorts from a place in Canada that I still wear around, kicking around shorts. But, I did, what in your wardrobe can you update? It doesn't have to be expensive, but maybe there's just one thing that you can change your standard around and say, okay, I'm not wearing those anymore. They're going out in the rag bag.
Yeah, maybe you've
Mhm.
decided you're stepping into your CEO status more and you're ditching. And I mean, don't get me wrong, guys, I like my yoga pants, so I'm not bashing yoga pants here, but maybe you've decided as a CEO you're going to wear yoga pants less. You're going to actually wear something that makes you feel a little more powerhouse, because I know that when I get dressed up more that I still do feel, even though I'm working from home office or out and about, I still do feel better whenever I've put on my clothes. I got dressed that day. It's not just the t-shirt, the yoga pants all the time, which I do like to work in, don't get me wrong, but I do feel more like a CEO when I actually get up, get dressed, get myself together. So
Mhm.
I've made that standard for myself that when I come in my office, I most of the time am dressed. I mean, dressed looking like I can go out and meet people. You know what I'm
Yeah,
talking
I
about.
mean, absolutely. We've all got our get shit done days, right? Where it's
Yeah,
okay, head down. Who cares what we're wearing?
that's
We're
different.
just
That's
getting
different.
stuff done. Absolutely. But yeah, and it's not about necessarily looking premium or looking luxury or trying to have the vibe. It's all about how you're feeling inside
Yeah,
yourself, right?
yeah.
Elevating that standard for how you feel. And if you feel like I'm in a tank top and a pair of shorts at the moment. I live in Costa Rica for one thing, so I'm not wearing, I'm not getting all dressed up, but at the same time, I can feel just as powerful wearing this as wearing, a designer dress. But, it's all about how you feel
Hmm.
and how you're showing up for yourself.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I'm not meaning that you got to be designer dress or power suit. I mean, but I'm just like That's why I made
Yeah.
the specifications. I'm dressed where I wouldn't be embarrassed to see people in public. So I've got
Yeah.
cool jeans on, cute top, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, but yeah, power suits are your thing. Great, that's not mine, but for those people that aren't, we're not bashing power suits, but let's see, Beth Ann, how many pairs of holy underwear are you holding on to is going to live rent free in my head for some time. I'm gonna be honest. That was a question asked me by one of my coaches. I guess it was about 3 or 4 years ago, and I have to admit, I immediately after that session with her went and cleaned out my underwear drawer, and I have kept the holy underwear gone since then because it is such a standard for us women to often. And guys, I know you guys do it too, but to just run around with holy underwear instead of replacing them because no one sees them, right? Yep. But hey, your significant other does, and you do.
So. Yeah, and just coming back to and I know there's a lot of men that have issues around standards as well, but I think as a woman, I know what we do, right? and it's often just a matter of putting ourselves not necessarily last, but second or third or fourth, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's why a lot of times we don't upgrade our standards, and we put up with too much stuff. And also the whole people pleasing thing, right?
Yeah. Well, in between
if
that,
go ahead. Sorry. If I elevate my standards and I hold this boundary, what's going to happen? What are they going to think of me?
Well, I think that's the main reason bringing this back around to business and making money and what's potentially holding people back from making. And guys, we're just using 6 figures here as the range, the bare minimum right now. But whatever your goal is, whether it's 50,000 a year, I mean, I don't care if it's a 5-figure or a 4-figure month, whatever it is, but saying yes to clients you know are not the right fit just because you need the money in the bank account. That's a standard. And I mean, we're not bashing people who need it, and you have to take it on because you need to work, you need to feed your family. That's okay until you get to the point where you don't need to do that. But once you've hit that point and you're still taking on clients who are not the right fit, that is not only doing yourself wrong, that's doing the client wrong too.
Absolutely.
But it's also holding you back from making money in your business that you're willing to take on anyone at any price, at any standard, that whole thing, which is kind of what we were really talking about this show today, was having those standards so that you are putting more zeros into the bank account or not adding more zeros to what's in the bank account. Hopefully it's not.
That's right. Yeah. But it's, just a side note to add to what you just mentioned, Heidi, which is a really great, a great statement. It's, not just elevating your standard, but stopping treating yourself like a commodity.
Ooh, that's a powerful one. Expand on that one for people.
Yeah, if you're willing to take on whatever and work with whoever, then you'll always be competing on price, right? Because now you're just a commodity. You're not elevating yourself in the marketplace to say and owning your genius that says, yes, this is my thing. This is what I can do with my eyes closed. And people are going to pay for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just had an example of this with a client who said, this is all I can charge. I've maxed out on what I can charge in my market right now for workshops. And yet I know that's just a mindset. And that's just, because she's brilliant. But I know she can get a lot more, but there's that thing, this is it, because this is the market rate and the race to the bottom, right?
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, the whole commodity versus, having that positioning as the one for your people and truly stepping out and owning your genius. Again, there's so many things that we can branch off of this as part of elevating your standards.
Right.
All these new conversations. I love it. But you've got content now for the next 5 years, Heidi.
We might have
but
to do
yes,
another
being yeah, but being willing to really differentiate yourself. Stop calling yourself just a coach or a copywriter or whatever. And this was something that I fell into early on in my years as a copywriter. It's like, oh, this is, these other people are, this is what I can charge or whatever. And so when you are lumping yourself in with everybody else doing something similar, then you will always compete on price. And like you said, you're a commodity and now it's a race to the bottom. There's always going to be someone that charges less than you.
Always. Always. And not only that, I mean, it was funny because you brought up, just calling yourself a coach. I just had, 2 weeks ago, my guest, Laura Holman, was on here, and we were talking about the generic coach, because she's like, yeah, you go to a networking event and the first person stands up, hi, I'm a such and such coach. Second person stands up, hi, I'm another coach, and another coach and another coach. And then all of a sudden, nobody remembers who anybody was other than everybody was a coach. So by setting your standards and start realizing who you are and what makes you special, what makes your gift, and start getting that out there, then all of a sudden you've elevated yourself beyond just a coach.
And having your own your signature methodology, as well as being able to really articulate how you get people from point A to point B, right? Chunking that down into the milestones. And being able to talk about it in a way that people understand, right? Because they don't buy coaching, they buy coaches.
Right. That's so true. And then when we're doing this, what do you think is one of the biggest mindset shifts for people to start raising their standards? Maybe, let's say, not just standards, but maybe raising the prices on their standards, or what do you want to look at on their standards? What's the mindset shift they need to make?
Oh man. Around the pricing piece and business in particular, what type of lifestyle do you want? What are you currently living and dealing with, and what do you truly want? Because I think a lot of the reason why we don't elevate our standards, it has to do with the fact that we don't have clarity on the vision. And it's not just about why, because I want to be able to put food on the table, but what's the bigger vision? Like, really tap into that and give yourself permission to go bigger, to dream bigger, and then reverse engineer everything. Okay, who do you have to be? What type of standards do you need to have in place in order to achieve that? Because going back to something that I touched on earlier, who's sitting on the sidelines, maybe for years now, that's been cheering you on and supporting you all this time? Who are you going to be letting down if you don't achieve that, if you don't elevate to the standards, to who you need to be in order to achieve it?
Yeah, so you're actually not even letting yourself down. You're letting, of course, the people around you down and all that too. Yeah, which is so huge.
And then, of course, with the bank account, right? What have you normalized? And this, I mean, is not just bank account, right? This goes for everywhere. Your bank account, your underwear drawer, your right, the people you date. If you're single, if you're still dating, the behavior that you're putting up with from your significant other, right? This is all around standards. What have you normalized that is keeping you here when you should be up here?
Yeah, and especially when this is up here, what you're aspiring to be, that you see this, you're dreaming this. So in that case, and I mean, this is what I do, and you probably as well, but to raise myself to those standards, I go ahead and visualize what future me looks like, how she's going to act, what she's going to do, and what her standards are. And I go ahead and start living to those. as much as I can now. And then that really, and before you know it, you are that person because you've done that shift. You've already done the shift. Because I know a lot of people are like, well, I can't because I don't have the money yet or whatever. Because, money's often one of the big goals we've got for that future person. But okay, fine, you don't have the money yet. But what would that person act like? What would they do? What would they not tolerate no more? What's going to be that standard on the bank account? I love that idea of that. And can you start going ahead and raising to get there before you're there? And then that's going to lift you to there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, I think a lot of people try to work from the bottom up. Right. And what happens is, well, I mean, Gay Hendricks calls it the upper limit, right? So we bump up against our set point, the normal, and, we keep getting dragged back down. It's like those invisible bungee cords, boop, back down. But instead, if you create your standards and work down from there. So everything you're pulling instead of trying to push against it. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Yeah, I agree. I mean, go ahead and be living your idea of a 10x lifestyle now instead of, and then that way you're not stuck. You're not.
Yeah.
You're still moving it. I like to talk to people because some people are like, well, I just can't imagine because I'm so far from whatever that thing is that they want. And I'm like, that's okay. Go ahead and do it, and then reverse engineer it back, break it down into what feels manageable. Because obviously, if the brain just cannot foresee it no matter what. It's hard. It's hard to make a move.
Chunk it down for yourself. I mean, if we go into it, if you start a new fitness program, you say, okay, the ultimate goal is 50 pounds. But guess what? You go into something saying, I need to lose 50 pounds. How successful is that going to be? Because it's like, okay, because your brain goes 50 pounds, it's too big. So break it down. Okay, so I'm going to focus on losing 10 pounds in the next 30 days. Right? So I come back to fitness analogies all the time because I find they're between that and business, right? They're just so easy to cross over.
I know. I use the marathon one the whole time. Yeah. You don't run a marathon in a day. You train for it a chunk at a time. It's just too good not to use, but it's true. And that's any of these goals, whether it's in your business or your life or wherever it is. If you really want to get to those goals, it's break it down, make it manageable, make it feel like you can believe you can do it, and then work for it. So
yeah. And if you have going back to the outreach piece in the DMs, okay, it feels overwhelming to maybe set a target of 30 or even 50. Do 10 today, do 5 today, do 10 tomorrow, do 15 the next day, right? Just 1% better in the little increments. That's going to get you further than it would be if you did 5 today and then waited a week to do another 5, right? The whole consistency, the compounding effect comes into play here, and that goes for elevating your standards as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, James Clear with Atomic Habits, of course, was the one who 1% every day, and they use the example, and this is such an amazing example. Is if you literally deviate off, and you were traveling, and you deviate one little degree over, you will start off in Florida, but you thought you were going straight, but you were that little bit off, you would end up somewhere in Alaska or somewhere instead, even though you meant to be in California. So that's the same with goal building. Just 1% a day can equal those massive results and changes if you just commit to 1% more.
Yeah. So, coming back to standards, it's all about, course correcting. You make the slight changes, the little 1% changes, course correct as you go. And I think this is a great discussion. I love Beth's comment in the chat here about men in underwear.
Yeah, I can kind of relate as well. I think that might be a husband partner thing. But yeah, she's also got, like Lisa May, I'm working on my daily schedule, switching some things around based on my energy throughout the day and trying to get routine fitness worked in more consistently. Yeah.
Yeah.
I start my morning out with mine. I include it with my mindset
Mhm.
work is how I do it. I actually do my workout first, because it centers me on the mat. It does. I normally start the day out with yoga or something on the mat. And I find it centers me there. And then that allows me to make sure I do my mindset work and I got my workout done without excuses. And it's a standard.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a very early riser. I'm usually up around 4:30.
Ooh,
And
4 a.m.
there are a few
club.
things that yeah, there are a few things that I do first off, and even before my workout. But the workout is definitely one of the ways that I win my day. And of course, because of where we live in Costa Rica, I don't have close proximity to a gym, so it's home workout, bands and dumbbells or whatever. But where I am, I know I have to have it done by 6 a.m. or the sun comes blasting into the to the area of the deck and you get roasted pretty quick. So I know it's like, okay, got to get up and get this done.
Oh, for sure on that one before it gets hot. That's like Portugal in the summer. We do everything before it gets hot in the middle of the day. Willie said, any things you're prepared to put up with are called tolerations, which are sort of like holes in your bucket. You're leaking as in compromising your standards. So true.
Love it. It
So
is.
true.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, we are heading towards the end of our show. So if you have any questions, thoughts, ideas, go ahead and get those dropped in the comments so that Lisa May can answer them before she's gone. And Lisa, as we're wrapping this up, then what is one final piece of advice you want to leave everyone with today?
Oh.
I know. I'm asking
Put me
for
on the
one.
spot. Put me on the spot. We've gone in so many different directions on this chat, but managed to bring it all back around standards. But I'm a firm believer when you elevate your own standards, like a rising, what is it? A rising tide raises all ships,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you go first. You're the leader. You're the leader in your life. You're the leader in your business, right? So you go first. You elevate your standards. People are going to rise with you, right? So the level of the caliber of clients that you attract and that you work with, the caliber of people you surround yourself with, and just so many different areas of your life and your business, it's all going to come up together.
Ooh, that is so strong. What a great way to leave them all with too, because it's true. I mean, because everything in your life changes when you set a standard and you hold it. Everything changes. And guys, those ones of you that still want to do the people pleasing and being nice, ditch it. It's not doing you any good on your standards. Not doing you at all. Let's see. I'm gonna give them a little bit more. Well, let's talk about it just a little bit more, just because we know their comments are coming in late. So let's give them just a second on the lag. But yeah, so taking that out and everything like that. I mean, what's one piece of advice? I know I said one more, but you did that quicker. Most people give it like 2 minutes on that.
Sorry.
You hit the nail on the head too quickly with that. That's giving me time to ask one more. So
I'm efficient.
Let's give, since we're giving them a minute. So for people who are, because I run into this all the time, I know you do as well, with people who are afraid to raise their prices because they're afraid to lose clients. What's something you tell them on that to let that go so that they can raise their standards and start getting what they're worth and what they deserve?
Yeah. Yeah. And I have an issue around people saying, charge what you're worth. But that's kind of the
Yeah,
best way for people to get it. But that aside, the semantics aside,
yeah.
when we really look at the transformation that you are facilitating in someone's life. Like for you and I, it's help them make more money. But maybe someone in the health space, it's, let's put it a different way, helping them avoid going on insulin, helping them to be fit enough and alive to play with their grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there are people that I've, in the health and wellness space in my audience that I've spoken to many times. Some of them are grief coaches. Some of them are chronic pain coaches. And the transformation they are facilitating is literally priceless.
Mm-hmm.
Right? For the impact that it has on someone's life, for them to be able to continue on living, making friends, maybe even finding new love after the death of a loved one. Rebuilding the relationships with their kids.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, we talk in business all the time. It's, for those of us that are in the B2B space, right, money's the tangible thing. But if you're not in that space, then I really want you to think about what is the true transformation you are facilitating, and what is your pricing representative of that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I'm so with you on that. I have a problem with charge what you're worth too. I mean, for me, that's a definition of what outcomes are you getting your clients? What value is that giving to them? And that's how you figure out what you're worth on what you charge on your offers. I don't think you can charge what you're worth. You're priceless. So
That's right. That's right.
So I don't think so on that. So Willie here, how to raise your standards. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then be the lighthouse in a sea of mediocrity rather than settling for less than you want to.
Nice.
It's another
Love
good one.
that.
Man, you guys with the all the examples today, they're so good. But it's so true. I mean, we gotta you do have so many people so worried about losing clients because they raise their rates.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the biggest things I run across, and helping them figure out that, you're worth way more. I mean, just look at the outcome. Look at the transformation you're getting your clients. Some of the people, like I have a client who is, when her clients would work with her, they're going out, they're making literally tens of thousands of dollars, and yet she's getting paid hundreds.
Yeah. Yeah. And really, when you look at it, if that's your pricing, what is the caliber of client that you're working with?
Mm-hmm.
Are they
Yeah.
actually doing the work?
Yeah. Well, and I think there's also another point that people miss too, when you start appearing to be too cheap for what you claim you're offering and the results your clients are getting. People start wondering what's wrong with you.
Yes. Yeah.
So again, let's think about our standards being higher because we're worth more, in the sense of we're giving more, we're putting more out there, because you're giving part of yourself when you're helping these clients, and you're
Mm-hmm.
giving your knowledge, your everything. And what is that worth? I mean, you got since we're looking at all the old cliches here today on what we're using. You remember the one where the guy goes into the engine room and he looks around. They brought the expert in because they couldn't figure out what was wrong. And he goes in, taps a few things, and then he points in this one place, and you're missing this one screw, or tighten this one screw. I mean, but it's true, And then he sent them the bill for like 50,000, I think it was, and they said, "Well, you were only here for less than half an hour." But what about all that knowledge you've built up, like that guy? I mean, Lisa,
Yeah.
you have over 18 years in just this one area. I mean, I've got over 30 years. I mean, you've got more than the 18 on top. That's just the one. But where's all that knowledge? What is it worth? And how you're able to help people.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah. People don't pay for volume, right? The more things you give people to do, then, they're the less likely they are to say yes to work with you. They're not paying for volume.
yeah, they're paying for your knowledge, what you know, and what you can help them with. So, well, thank you so much, Lisa May, for bringing us that and sharing all that beautiful gold with us on standards. Guys, I hope you realize why your standards are so important in your business and why they could be holding you back. And we appreciate you as well, all your energy, your questions, your thoughts throughout the conversations. We appreciate you so much. Thank you all for being here today. And for those of you who could not join live, please drop your biggest takeaway, your questions in the comments with hashtag replay. We'll make sure we pop back by and answer them. But
Absolutely.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Heidi. It's a pleasure as